the third emotional battle, having crossed the emotional sea. When you have been disengaged from, you face 3 battles in order to secure your freedom. The first is the emotional battle which you will always lose until you learn not to fight it. The second is the battle of crossing the emotional sea, essentially the battle between logic and emotional thinking, which must be fought many times until you finally overcome the powerful effects of emotional thinking and allow your cool, hard logic to dictate. Once that battle has been won, you've managed to navigate a way through the ocean of emotional thinking, and then you have reached the dry land on the other side. This is where the third battle with the narcissist is joined. This dry land provides you with a firmer foundation, and just like the discovery of the new world, boundless opportunities. Having crossed the sea, having transited that ocean of emotional thinking, in turn you will have lowered it through the application of a solid no-contact regime, and therefore you will not be prone to the vagaries of the swelling and dramatic emotion of emotional thinking. That is not to say that your emotional thinking has been switched off. You can't achieve that. Far from it. Emotional thinking is always there, but the key through the implement and maintenance of a no-contact regime, a total no-contact regime, is that after roughly 6 months, you get it down to a very low level, so that logic prevails. Having crossed the sea, the solidity of the land that you reach is a reflection of the application of logic and the greater control that you now have over your emotional thinking. No longer do you feel overwhelmed. You are not beset by anxiety. Fear doesn't maintain a near permanent grip on your stomach, and this is because, through lowering your emotional thinking, you have reduced and eradicated, at least temporarily, the ability of that emotional thinking to make you feel angry, anxious, or fearful. You were repeatedly drowned as you tried to swim the emotional ocean alone in the first battle. You saw yourself swamped and capsized on numerous occasions, as each time you increased your logic and understanding as you built larger and more seaworthy logic vessels, until you finally navigated your way through that broiling sea of feelings generated by your emotional thinking. And now you stand on firm, dry, and solid land. Your logical thinking has increased significantly, your sense of calm has bloomed, and you now have far more control over matters. You have stayed away from the narcissist. You have stayed out of those 5 arenas of interaction. You now stand before a land of opportunities, and this is where you are now able to make decisions. In the previous 2 battles, you were often overwhelmed, and then on the back foot. Here, in this final battle, you have the opportunity to seize and maintain the upper hand. You have so many choices available to you now. Moving forward, you may decide on this new virgin territory to build a large tower and secrete yourself inside. You have the sturdy foundations now, through logic and reduced emotional thinking, on which to construct this edifice, a permanent place of no contact. You are safe and secure high up in this tower. You admit visitors, but only those that you know can be trusted. Occasionally, you hear a knock in the dead of night. You make your way to the balcony and look down from your towering height to see the narcissist stood outside, knocking on the door, seeking admittance as you are hoovered. The emotional thinking will rise slightly, but now, because you've got it down to a much lower level, you are far less likely to respond in a way which is disastrous for you. you are most likely to decide to turn around, ignore us, and leave the narcissist to the ineffectual knocking. You might call out and wave, a dangerous step, as that is a form of engagement with the narcissist and is not to be encouraged. But with reduced emotional thinking sitting within your tower of no contact, you are far more likely to turn around and ignore the hoover, even if you know that one has appeared to begin with. You are far better equipped now to make rational decisions based on logic, with insight, having not lost it to the perils of emotional thinking. You may decide instead to forge ahead and seek out new adventures in this land. You meet new people and form fresh and lasting friendships, perhaps even finding someone with whom you can share intimacy and romance. The prospects of finding a healthy, successful relationship have increased considerably, because now, with lowered emotional thinking as you look about this land, you can spot the narcissists as they come near and evade them. With heightened emotional thinking, you could not do this previously. As you trek through this land, gathering new friends and revisiting those who were conned into severing the ties with you, you remain vigilant, however, for out of nowhere the narcissist could appear, for you are not in a tower of no contact, as you are moving about in the land beyond. The narcissist might strike, lurching through a crowd, hurling insults. You are better armed this time, and able to shield yourself, moving away, refusing to be drawn into responding, not engaging in a war of words like you once might have done so. It may be the case that as you embrace these new horizons, that we appear smiling and benign, sidling up to you and taking you by surprise. The risk always remains, for if you are abroad within this new land, you cannot place yourself behind sturdy defences. Thus, you remain exposed to ambush and approach by the narcissist. However, you remain far better equipped than you once ever were. This is as a consequence of your gathered learning from my work, your increased understanding, and your ongoing recovery. Emotional thinking is low. Logic is being applied. You are in a better position to rebuff any ambush, refusing to engage, and marking your departure to safer ground. Sometimes, the narcissist may actually execute a hoover against you, and the emotional thinking starts to rise. But since you have started from a lower position, you are far less likely to be hauled back into the sea, and instead wriggle free and retreat to that place of no contact. It is important to understand, however, that the risk always remains. You may opt to establish an estate where you do not take refuge in some tower, but instead you create a place of familiarity where everyone is known to you and you are known to them. You keep your supporters in clear view, and whilst you may not tread down the path less travelled in search of new territories, you reduce your risk of us appearing out of nowhere. By remaining in familiar places with familiar people, you enable yourself to maintain clear lines of sight, reduced emotional thinking, the application of logic, so that if the narcissist does make an appearance, you are able to take suitable evasive action at an early stage. The narcissist will, if able, try to hoover you and skirmish with you again, and look to drag you back to one of the earlier battles where the narcissist's prospects of success are maximised. Sometimes we do succeed. Sometimes one of our devious hoovers catches you unaware, and we scale your tower and appear on your balcony, like that once desired Prince Charming again, and your defences are breached. Other times, however, you will repel our approaches, turning your back or cutting us down with new learned techniques which force the narcissist to withdraw. You may see no action for weeks, months, and even years, as news reaches you that we are fighting on other fronts. You should pay that news no further regard, for to embrace it further would be a breach of no contact. It would appear that we are seemingly content to leave you be, at least for the time being. Then, out of nowhere, you may reduce your vigilance, and suddenly we are by your side, seeking to snake our tendrils around you once again. It is in this third battle that you now know what to look for, the signs, the indicators, but that ability to see only remains so long as you keep that emotional thinking low. If you allow it to increase, you will lose insight once again. This time, through reduced emotional thinking and the ability to apply logic, you will see that when we march onto the battlefield, you will take heed of the red flags which stream behind us. You've now learned the methods by which you can counter and neutralize our manipulations. You have established safe territories to which you might retreat should the need arise. You have fashioned your own armory in this land of promise. You know now how wounding can occur, and asserting greater control, you only use that sparingly, arising out of your defense, to ensure that you disengage from the skirmish, forcing the narcissist to skulk away to lick his wounds and regroup. The third battle takes place in a land where the battlefield for the first time is more of your choosing than that of the narcissist. You have become better equipped to fight this battle as a consequence of the application of my work, the application of logic, and the reduction of emotional thinking. If you follow my direction through consultation and the application of the work, material, information that I provide to you, you will find yourself in this land with the third emotional battle to fight. Whilst there remains a risk of defeat and of being ensnared once again, the risk is far lower than it ever was in the previous two battles. You are now battle-hardened, a weaponized empath, and those scars are worn as badges of honours, as you are able to stand tall for the first time in, well, you cannot recall since when that last happened, but it has happened at last. This is the third battle post-disengagement, the battle that takes place on dry land. Should you overcome the first two battles, this is where you will find yourself. Now you understand where you will end up as you deal with the fallout from being disengaged from. Now you are aware of what will happen, what to expect, and how you are in a better position to keep winning the skirmishes in this final battle. This only leaves one question remaining. How long will this third and final battle last? It will continue until one of us no longer lives. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.